Welcome to today's webinar focused on modernizing your county's annual budget process. My name is Mark Levine and I am the Deputy Director of your New York State Association of Counties. We are using this webinar to help launch our new partnership with ClearGov through the National Association of Counties. We have watched several counties across the state finding new ways of modernizing their annual budget process. What does that mean exactly? This means increasing the efficiency of collecting budget requests, creating budgets, and communicating with internal and external stakeholders. During this webinar, we will introduce ClearGov and their powerful, easy-to-use budget cycle management suite. But don't take our word for that. We have the Orange County Budget Department here with us today to talk about how ClearGov has improved their budget process. Also of note is we are introducing a new webinar format today. We're going to start with a presentation and then move into a panel discussion and then do a brief product demonstration. But first, we have a few brief housekeeping announcements before we begin. Kate Pierce-Nims is our multimedia specialist, and she is coordinating today's webinar. Thank you, Kate.
Sure thing, Mark. So just a few housekeeping announcements before we begin. Please submit any questions that you have for our presenters in writing under your dashboard questions tab or via the chat tab. You can submit questions at any time throughout the presentation. Please know also that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted with a PDF of the slide deck on the NYSAC website at nysac.org/webinars. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Kate. Our speakers today, and we thank them very much for their time and expertise, are Deborah Slasinski. Deb is the Budget Director for Orange County. She has worked in the Orange County Budget Department in several different roles since 2013. She has more than 25 years of management and fiscal experience in both government and the private sector, and she's no stranger to NYSAC's webinars. She's done a few for us, and we thank you for that, Deborah. Gretchen Reardon. Gretchen is the Budget Director, the Deputy Budget Director at Orange County. She has been with Orange County for nearly 20 years. And Rob Battaglia. Rob is the Senior Market Development Executive for New York at ClearGov. He works directly with New York's counties and local governments on improving budget efficiency and adopting financial transparency best practices. Prior to working at ClearGov, Rob spent time working in government and politics, including working for a county legislator and town supervisor in New York. Rob is a native New Yorker and lives in New York City. A word about ClearGov. ClearGov is the leading provider of budget cycle management software focused on helping local governments streamline the annual budgeting process by improving the collection, creation, and communication of your budgets. ClearGov solutions are powerful enough to support local governments and counties of every size, yet affordable enough for even the smallest communities. Nearly 800 local governments across the country, including 10 New York counties, rely on their cloud-based budget cycle management solutions to modernize their budgeting processes and provide and produce award-winning GFOA budget books. NYSAC and NACO are both proud to be strategic partners with ClearGov. At this point, I would like to turn it over to Rob Battaglia. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks so much, Mark. Really appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to talk to the NYSAC community today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let me just expand out my slide deck here. So like Mark talked about, we're going to focus today's webinar on how counties throughout New York can modernize their annual budget process. Obviously a very timely discussion considering most counties have either adopted their budget or are just finishing up their budget process for FY23. As Mark talked about, I'm the Senior Market Development Executive here at ClearGov for New York State, and I'm really excited to be joined by the Orange County budget team, Debbie and Gretchen over there. In terms of the agenda for today's webinar, I'm going to go through a quick introduction to ClearGov for those who might not be familiar with our company. We'll then dive into the roundtable discussion with Debbie and Gretchen at Orange County. They'll talk about their experience using the ClearGov software and some of the pain points that it's helped resolve in their process and create efficiencies. And then, as Mark talked about, we'll end today's webinar with an actual product demonstration of some of the different modules that we offer at ClearGov that are designed to digitize and create efficiencies around each unique aspect of your budget process. So just for a quick kind of lay of the land, when I talk with budget teams, finance directors, treasurers, county administrators across New York State, really the annual budget process, it's a process primarily made up of Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, antiquated accounting modules, and that's the process for building the one-year capital budget, multi-year capital plan, putting together personnel projections across the organization, working with department heads to build the operating budget. And then, of course, the end product is usually a bunch of Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, slapped together on the website in some kind of larger 200, 300, 500 plus page budget book document. That process in 2022, as we head into 2023, candidly, it's tedious, it's time consuming, it's disjointed, it's error prone. And we at ClearGov believe there is a modern alternative to this approach. We offer a cloud-based end-to-end budget cycle management suite. If you're a county out there and you have spreadsheets for every aspect of the budget process, you can certainly use our entire suite for the collection, creation, and communication of your entire budget. Or if you're a community out there that you have a process that works for most of the budget, but maybe your pain is around capital planning specifically, or maybe your pain is around presenting the budget, our solution can also be ordered a la carte if you're looking for just one module or multiple modules. Like Mark talked about, we're working with a handful of counties already in New York State across the state, from the Hudson Valley area all the way up to the Buffalo, Erie County area. Our software is designed to complement your existing accounting system. So whether using Munis or New World or Oracle or anything in between, you would continue to use your existing financial system. And really what we're talking about is having a cloud-based suite sit on top of that and really digitize more of the spreadsheets, Word documents, PDFs that sit outside the accounting system. In terms of a little bit more background on the different modules that we offer, and we're going to go through a product demonstration later on in the webinar around each of these modules, but our operational budgeting module, this is the module designed to digitize the workflow for department heads and the budget team, finance team to work together on building the operating budget. This would basically take your unique accounts, as well as your fund structure, your object structure, and recreate that in a digital cloud-based format that allows, again, the budget team, the finance team, department heads, the administration, board members, reviewers to all work in one cloud-based workspace. You don't have to worry about broken formulas or anything like that, version control issues. The other great thing is that you're able to do notes, attachments, itemized details, internal conversations, and there's also a very robust report builder. Once you've built the budget in ClearGov, you're able to export it and ingest it back into your accounting system, whatever that is, Munis, New World, Oracle, Microsoft, KVS, whatever the case is. We also have a personnel planning software that complements the previous module that's designed specifically to help you calculate your personnel projections. If you are a county where the budget team or the finance team or HR is the one actually calculating the personnel projections for the budget, not necessarily department heads, and this is a module that would make a lot of sense for your process. This would have your collective bargaining units, your positions, your employees, your benefits, your additional pay structure, your new hire requests, any future position planning, all incorporated in one cloud-based workspace. The system is able to automate a personnel projection for you of not just the upcoming annual budget cycle, but doing it over a multi-year period. So you can maintain a 3, a 5, a 10-year personnel forecast, not just during the budget process, but things like union negotiations as well. We have a unique capital budgeting software for the uniqueness of a local government's capital planning process, both for the one-year capital budget and multi-year capital plan, whether that's a 3-year, a 5-year, a 6-year, or 10-year capital plan. This leverages digital request forms, a digital dashboard, a scenario tool, a scorecard tool, and a robust report builder to really collect, create, and communicate your entire capital plan. We also have the digital budget book software. This is the software that actually Orange County is using, and we will actually take a look at the document they've built using our software later on. This is the tool that would, regardless of how you build the budget, whether it's in your accounting system, whether it's in a spreadsheet, whether it's in ClearGov, This tool can take that financial data and automate for you your budget report, whether that's your proposed document, your adopted document, or anything in between. It'll automate that report for you, your fund level content, department content, your capital plan, certain narrative pages, but produce it in a digital interactive website-based format rather than maybe a static PDF. It can secondarily still give you a PDF, but primarily produce that digital interactive document that's mobile friendly, tablet friendly, ADA optimized, and can be updated dynamically. Our system is also built around the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. So whether you're trying to win the GFOA award or you just want to achieve as many industry best practices as possible, our system has that built into it. And then finally, we have a transparency solution. Once you're past the budget and now you're in the new fiscal year, this is a tool you can use for dashboard type updates, budget versus actual updates on your finances, things like maybe even an open checkbook to have a searchable checkbook vendor database. You can do project management type updates on your capital plan. Residents can even subscribe their email to get updates on those capital projects and engage with the different project managers about those projects should you make that available. And you can even do performance measure type updates in the system as well. And finally, my last slide before we dive into the roundtable discussion, as Mark talked about, ClearGov is super excited and really proud to be a strategic partner with both NACO and NYSAC, and we're proud to have that endorsement from them as their recommended budgeting solution for their members. So we are now going to dive into the roundtable discussion with the Orange County budget team. I'm just going to pull up my slide here. So Debbie, Gretchen, appreciate you guys taking the time to join. My first question for you both, you implemented ClearGov earlier this year, specifically our digital budget book software. And I guess maybe just for context, actually, before we dive into it, this was the budget your team was putting out last year. Actually have your 2022 executive recommended budget. Looks a lot like maybe other counties out there who are using Word documents, PDFs, maybe their accounting system produced that report. This is the document you guys produced for 2023 for your executive recommended budget. You can see the big difference is a digital interactive website-based budget and really allows the viewer of this document to digest it a lot easier, whether it be a legislator or a member of the public. Debbie and Gretchen, can you talk about what your process prior to the digital budget book software in ClearGov was, and what were some of the pain points you experienced, and really what was the breaking point that your team eventually decided that, it's time for an alternative and you wanted to move to a cloud-based solution?
Sure. So as Rob described, basically we had org charts, we had Word documents, we had Excel spreadsheets, we had documents from our financial system. And for each department, we would basically have to take each one of those types of documents, put them together. Then we would have to put the whole book together. We'd have to put page numbers on it. We'd have to then go and make an index on it. And it was really a very long process, a very cumbersome process. And every time you added a different page, we would have to renumber, change the index. Gretchen, I don't know, yeah, right?
It was a lot of manual manipulation. We only had a few charts in our book because all of them had to be created manually. Anytime a number changed, we'd have to go back and revise all of our charts. It was a very tedious process on our end.
Definitely.
And really, was there maybe a moment in time when you were building this book, going to a website-based budget, not just using a cloud-based alternative to maybe digitize that process, but moving to an interactive budget? Was there any discussions internally? Was there a moment in time where your team decided that, this is going to be a goal for our county's budget team, or maybe it came from the top? Can you walk through maybe what that decision-making process looked like for deciding to make a change?
Sure. So part of the problem was when we started with COVID and we all went remote, it became an even harder process to do. When we were in the office, at least we, did it all together. So during that process, it was even harder to put the budget together. Right, Gretchen?
Oh yeah, for the 2021 budget, I did a lot of that at home. And that was quite a challenge without having, others to assist, to ask questions, to share the documents with. It was something we definitely wanted to do. The budget department also got a lot of new staff, and now we feel that it was something that we were able to tackle in this new year. We got new budget software, and we decided to go with ClearGov, and produce a web-based document, and we feel like it's really a major upgrade for Orange County.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. That's great to hear. Can you give a little bit more insight on maybe what your evaluation process was for a new solution? Certainly, there's a lot of different maybe document building solutions out there around different types of, you can go in a lot of different directions if you're looking to improve efficiency around maybe a document, maybe not necessarily a budget book specifically, but what were some of the requirements, the features, the functionality that your team was looking specifically for out of a new vendor?
So first of all, we did look at a couple of different vendors. Yours was very easy to work with. Some of the requirements that we had was that it had to obviously work with our financial system, and that is Hyperion at this point, and that was just recently implemented also. So we took the two on together. We felt that we did need a dashboard for online viewing for our constituents and for our departments. However, we also needed to have the access to a print version. That was very important because some of our legislators still like to have that book. We needed options that would create charts and tables and that would be updated as the numbers changed.
Yeah, we really wanted something that was user-friendly, that would be easy for us in the budget department to use, that would be easy for our departments to use, our administration, something that would be easy to manage.
Excellent, excellent. That's really good insight. I'm just going to actually give a quick reminder to the audience out there that you have the ability to submit questions to Debbie and Gretchen during this conversation. A little bit later on this roundtable, we'll take a look at those questions, and if there's any that make sense to ask Debbie and Gretchen, we'll be able to have them answer those live, so feel free to pepper those into the chat. My next question, now that you guys are kind of on the other side of it, we just looked at the document you've put out there and the executive recommended phase. What were some of the wins, the benefits, the value adds that the software provided your team now that you're on the other side of the implementation? Anything that you can point to that maybe you expected, that you're glad it got done, and maybe some unexpected wins as well?
So first of all, as you showed the first document, it was a non-searchable PDF document. You literally had to go through it if you wanted to see something or find the context. Right now, if you wanted to go in our new budget book and our new dashboard, if you typed in budget, you can go right to it. It was just so easy for us to implement that. Yeah, it was really that was one of the biggest wins that we had. Also, the charts and such that we have now. It just gives people a different way to look at the budget.
That's fantastic. That's really great to hear. I guess to piggyback off something you just said, you mentioned even earlier as well that a big reason you chose our company to work with was we were easy to work with. Let's say there's a county out there that saw what Orange County did and might be interested in doing something similar. I'm sure in the back of their mind they're curious, what they can expect from an implementation perspective, from a training and support perspective. Can you give a little bit more insight into what it was actually like working with the ClearGov team, getting the software up and running?
Sure. I felt that it was a very simple process after having just implemented a new budget software, which was not very easy at all. It was very difficult. Working with ClearGov, we needed to know how we wanted to present our data for Orange County. Our GL structure is a fund org structure. We do present our budget by the appropriation. So we did have to make sure that our data was organized in that fashion. And ClearGov was very helpful in getting us to where we needed to be to have the data presented in the fashion that we expected, that our legislature expected to see it in. I honestly couldn't believe how easy it was to work with. Like, we sent them our data, you guys uploaded it, we checked it over to make sure that everything agreed with what we had in our budget system, and we really did not have any concerns or issues. And the few little issues that we may have come across, ClearGov was very easy to work with to fix those things for us in a timely fashion.
And I just think one of the things that people need to know, just know how you want your data presented. And once you can do that, then with the onboarding team, it was really very easy to make that work.
Well, I'm super excited to hear that you guys thought it was a relatively seamless process to get the software up and running. And I know this conversation is focused around counties. Certainly in New York, there's counties of different sizes. So even if you're a county out there that doesn't have a budget team or a budget department, maybe it's all on the treasurer, the finance director, or maybe the county administrator is wearing multiple hats. Our company, we really pride ourselves on providing that consultative experience when onboarding your data, building out the product, but also we built a solution that is really easy and simple for really anyone to get up and running with. I mean, we have clients who are tiny little villages, smaller rural towns, and obviously some of the bigger counties and cities out there as well, communities of all sizes. So the budget document, certainly, that's a process, and that's a document, a tool that involves many different stakeholders across the county. It's not just a document that is used by the budget team, by the administration. It's a tool and a document that incorporates narrative, performance measures, goals, accomplishments from departments across the county, as well as obviously it's something that is viewed importantly by your legislators or your legislative body. Debbie, Gretchen, what has been the reaction across the county, your department heads, the administration, your legislators, maybe even members of the public, if you've gotten feedback there on the software and your new interactive website-based budget?
Sure. So first, we had a very short window to do this. So what we did is we did print an executive recommended budget, and we presented it to our legislators, and then we did a presentation with them. Okay, so we went in and we showed them the book, what different things were in the book, and then we went to the dashboard, showing them how to find different departments and how they could print different sections in the book, showed them how to look at different charts and such. Most of them, first of all, they loved the charts. That was a big win for us. Also, most of them said now at this point, I don't even think I want to have a 700-page book to carry around, that I can just look at this on my laptop and it's just much easier for them.
That's fantastic. Gretchen, do you have maybe any insight from like a department or other end user perspective? I know in your document, you guys incorporate a lot of narratives, things like that. Any kind of feedback on maybe how the software presents that data from some of those other end users?
Sure.
I'm sure.
Well, as Deb mentioned, we really had a very short turnaround to get this book completed. We had about 2 months, maybe a little less than 2 months. The data team really did help to make that possible, that we were able to get the book created within that 2-month period. That being said, we really didn't have a lot of time to have our departments trained on it to where they could go in and update their own narratives and objectives. That is something we hope to start with the 2024 budget, as that process will be starting probably sooner than we know. As far as the presentation of it, I think the departments really did also appreciate the way that it gave a lot of good information about their department and presented it in a way to give the public the information on what do they actually do in those departments, where our prior book was kind of the same information year after year. This gave them a little bit more.
That's really fantastic insight, and I'm sure getting that first document done, it's going to be even easier as you go into that 24 process to continue to iterate on that process, make it even more efficient.
Yes.
The digital budget book I mentioned during the introduction to ClearGov is built around the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. For those who might not be familiar with that award, the Government Finance Officers Association about 40 years ago or so created a national standard and an award that accompanies that standard around the budget document. So there is a national recognized standard by the GFOA on what a budget document should look like, what's incorporated in it. A handful of communities across New York and across the country win that award, but candidly, it is a difficult task to achieve a GFOA award-winning budget book if you're not already an award winner. I guess my question for your team is, applying for the GFOA budget award important? Is that a goal for Orange County? If so, why is it? And what would you recommend to maybe other communities out there that if they should consider maybe the GFOA award?
So I only found out about the award when one of our surrounding counties won it. And I was a budget analyst at the time, and that was just one of my goals, that we needed to get this award. I just think it's important that the county's showing it's committed to transparency to our taxpayers. Each and every constituent should be able to clearly understand our process and what the result is and what it means to them. So having this dashboard really provides insight to all of our constituents.
Excellent, excellent. That's great feedback and insight. I'm going to take a quick look in the chat here, see if anybody's got any questions for the Orange County team. I don't see any questions in the chat. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to pop those in. We'll be happy to answer those throughout the rest of the webinar. So I guess to wrap up this roundtable discussion, my last question for each of you, if there's a county out there, they've heard what your team has said, and they're very interested in it done. We're going to walk through a product demonstration if the software itself looks like something that makes sense for their community, their county. We're heading now into the new fiscal year. Maybe they have already put together some plans. Maybe they've talked about in the past, improving their budget process. Maybe it hasn't been that #1 priority. If someone's looking to do something similar, or maybe, if they haven't decided yet that this is a #1 goal for them, what are just your final thoughts, advice as a budget team with Orange County who has implemented the software? What's your kind of final thoughts or advice for the communities out there?
First, I think you need to have your administration have buy-in, and they were really great with us. They love the budget book also, and also give yourself additional time. We thought we had enough time, but the contract process took a little longer than possible, and so give yourself more than enough time to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, more time. The initial setup of the book itself does take some time, especially for us when we needed to do a print version. We wanted to make sure that the pages and everything looked very professional. The great thing about ClearGov is that once we had the executive book done, to do the legislative book was very simple. We just changed where the data version was pointing to, and the formatting carries over. So that was very beneficial, but I agree, definitely give yourself enough time.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you.
Hey, Rob, it's Mark here. And I do see a couple of questions and a comment in the chat. So if you don't mind, I will ask a couple of these. Does the digital book provide an easy way to print the book for your users that still want a physical document?
Yes.
Yes, you actually just submit it. It comes back to you in an email with a link, and you can print it on your own printer if you'd like.
So how many pages is? Yeah, go ahead, Gretchen. I'm sorry.
You can print it either in whole or in part. Like if you only wanted to print a couple of departments, you could do it that way, or you could print the entire book.
How big is the Orange County budget book? How many pages?
Probably well over 700 pages.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Has there been any feedback from members of the public in terms of navigating the county budget online?
I haven't heard any yet. Literally, we just pretty much put it up in October. So, and we're now going to be putting in our adopted budget soon. So hopefully we'll get some feedback then.
So when the county board held a budget hearing, did it cause more people to come out to the budget hearing? Did you see a change in that?
No.
No. Okay. How would a one-person county budget office with approximately 1,000 employees, just under $300 million in size, and over 100 PowerPoint slides manage the one-time conversion to ClearGov? That might be for you, Rob.
I think we talked about this a little earlier. Regardless of your size and how many staff you can, how many staff you have in your office, our team, we've designed a tool that, regardless of what accounting system you're using, how many people are going to be managing this project, it's not really a project. It's a matter of sending us data. Our team is going to build in that data into the system for you, and you're able to then use the software off of that data, whether you're building the budget in ClearGov or outside of ClearGov. I think to Debbie and Gretchen's point, having an idea of how you want to present that data, certainly as you become a larger and larger community, There's a couple different ways to maybe visualize those dimensions, and certainly if you're a community that maybe hasn't had a lot of charts and graphs in your budget before, this might be a different way of showing that. But in terms of the actual implementation, I mean, we have obviously, we have counties of all sizes using our software, but we have villages and towns under $5 million using our software. So don't be, I think the size of your community, your staff, and kind of what you're converting, that's not necessarily the issue. It's a matter of, to Debbie's point earlier, giving yourself enough time to maybe implement a new solution so you can take advantage of it in that next budget cycle.
Okay, so this was a one-person shop with 100 PowerPoint slides. So they would just send you the 100 PowerPoint slides?
So they would run a report out of their accounting system. And maybe, Gretchen can talk about, what that process looked like for her if she wants to. And then certainly some of the narrative, maybe in those PowerPoint slides, that's relatively easy to incorporate into the budget book. You can either copy and paste tables and graphs into the software. You may want to decide to recreate that data in ClearGov itself originally. You can also attach supplemental documents to it. There's a handful of different ways to get some of those outside documents into the software, but the financial data itself that might be powering a lot of that data in your PowerPoints, the system's going to generate that for you in more of a three-dimensional interactive format.
Great, thank you very much. Was there any resistance in Orange County? The county executive's office, how did you convince them that this cloud-based model was more streamlined and an efficient version of the process?
So we actually had our director of operations view a demonstration, and that was the buy-in for them. They just thought it was user-friendly. It could create a really great dashboard for us, and that was the buy-in.
Great. Can you talk about security in terms of making sure that the right people that were supposed to look at the document were the only people, or the data of a certain department or whatever, before you go fully live, that only certain people got to see certain things?
Well, for our county, we had the budget office as the only administrators of the document, and we only had given access to other users in the budget office. We have not yet given it out to the departments.
Okay, I'm just looking through to see if there are any. How much cost history can be included in the conversion to ClearGov? Not sure I understand that.
So if that question is asking how much budget and actual historical data can be presented in your budget book, I'm not sure how much Orange County has, but historically, most clients typically present 4 to 10 years of data. I think our client recommends 20 years of data, but typically it's 4 to 10 years we see for most communities.
Great, thanks. These questions are great and they keep coming in. So our payroll roster calculations are based on wage tables that are complex. Can you handle those intricate calculations?
So if you were looking to make it easier to calculate those costs, that would be done in our personnel budgeting software. I'll give a quick demonstration of that module in a little bit. And you can recreate your wage schedule tables in that system, especially if we're talking about like union contract with step-based progression. You can incorporate that in the ClearGov and have the system automate most of that, as well as benefits and additional pay calculation models, and it'll calculate all the costs for each individual employee. Regarding communicating maybe some of that data, you can certainly incorporate your wage schedule tables in your budget book if you're not using our personnel module. Actually heading into the new year, one of the big features we're excited to roll out is an integration between our personnel module and the budget book. So if you're looking to digitize those complex calculations on personnel, those wage schedule tables, you'll be able to do that in the system very easily today. And actually in a couple of months, if you're also doing that process, you'll be able to then have the system automate those wage schedule tables in your document for you as well.
Great. Thank you, Rob and Deborah and Gretchen. I think we can move to the product demonstration now. One more question. And then I want to encourage attendees that if you have questions during the product demonstration, please keep on putting those questions in there, and we will get to them as soon as the demo is complete. How long did Orange County implementation actually take from start to finish product for the 2023 budget?
Well, for the 2023 budget, it was less than a 2-month process from when we received the product to when our book was completed. So it was probably 2 to 3 weeks worth of back and forth with the ClearGov team to get our data onboarded, and us and the budget office trained on how to use the product. But in total, it was 2 months from start to a final produced document.
And the training is very easy. There are webinars to document each step of the process.
I think if memory serves me correct, I think the procurement process took longer than the implementation process.
It did.
It did.
Yeah, that sometimes happens in county government.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, you ready for, how big is the Orange County Budget Office before we move on?
There are 6 of us.
6 of us.
6, okay. But again, Rob says this is scalable up and down, so just to reiterate that. Rob, you ready for the product demo now?
I am indeed. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So here we are in ClearGov. I'm going to log in very briefly here. So we are a web-based, a cloud-based solution. So you can access our system, whether that be in the office, as the Orange County team just mentioned, COVID was a big reason they decided to maybe look at web-based solutions. So if you're outside the office, whether it's intentional or unintentional, you can also access the software there. Also like to joke around, if you're on vacation in the Bahamas on the beach and someone's got to get you and you got to look at a budget request, you can certainly do that too. We're in the back office of ClearGov. Depending on what modules you get with ClearGov, that's what you're going to see on the left side of the screen here. We're going to first take a look at the budget development tools, building the line items, building those personnel calculations, collecting your capital request, building a capital budget. And then we're going to take a look at creating the budget book that Orange County did as an example. So our operational budgeting module, this is the tool. If you're looking for a different way to work with department heads to actually calculate the numbers, that's what this module is designed to do. So if you're using your accounting system to do this, have them maybe enter the budget requests, and maybe that process isn't as efficient as you'd like, or maybe you're using spreadsheets and you do not want to be using spreadsheets, you don't want to be one formula mistake away from a budgeting disaster, then this is the module that you'd be interested in. So you would send us an export out of your accounting system, your basically a big account inquiry report, all the account IDs, the fund structure, the historical budget versus actual data, and our team will onboard that for you here in ClearGov. Couple things I want to point out. Right now we're looking at the software from an admin perspective. Up top is a progress bar. That's a non-linear progress bar. You could be working in multiple sections at the same time. Below is our metrics, budget versus actual activity for the last X amount of years. That's on the expense side. I can easily toggle to the revenue side as well. See historically budget versus actual figures, even over budgeted figures. Below are some metrics. I can collect in this system our end of year estimates from our department heads, have them tell us where they think they're going to end the current year at, and there'll be some metrics there. I can also see some metrics around the budget we're currently building compared to last year's budget. I can also see if I input my most recent audited fund balance total based on the projection, the end of year projections and the budget projections, it'll actually give us a simulation of what our fund balance projected amount is going to be. Below in the table is actually where you would build the actual budget itself. In my account, this is modeled after one community's chart of accounts. Whatever your county's chart of accounts is, that will be represented here. In my example, it's broken down by function, broken down by department, broken down by object, then broken down by the line item level. I can show columns of historical data. I can also get rid of these columns if I want to make it a cleaner look. I can also add more columns if I want to. Below in the graph above, when I go into the table below, this graph will update. So if right now I'm in all expenses. If I went to the IT department specifically, now it's showing me the IT budget for the last, in my case, 15 plus years of budget versus actual activity. So I can see all that data from an analytics perspective. Makes my life a lot easier, both as the team building the budget, but as well as your department heads themselves. In the table as well, you're going to have a lot of tools at your disposal. So right now I'm in the IT department, and let's just say for argument's sake, personnel. Maybe that's handled by HR, maybe that's handled by the county administrator manager's office, maybe that's handled by the budget team. You can see here, I've already inputted some costs into here. I've already inputted some figures in my line items. And I've also left a note for the department themselves to let them know that these costs were calculated based on the most recent union contract, and I can even put the contract there. When I'm inputting costs at the line item level, whether it be as a admin or as a department head itself, I can either do it at the individual line item level, at the object level. I can even do subline itemization. If I want to itemize out memberships and dues, I can do that. And some of the other tools at my disposal include leaving notes and attachments as well. The other great thing is if you're using our personnel budgeting module, it integrates with this module. So as an example, let's say I'm using ClearGov, and we'll take a look at that module in a second, to automate my personnel projections based on those, to one of the attendees' questions, those complex formulas. Let the system automate that for you, and then you can import into the budget that personnel projection. So here, at least for the police department, I've already inputted in some personnel related costs around a personnel scenario. It itemizes full-time salaries in this example by the individual employee. It also incorporates maybe vacancies and new hire requests as well. So that's kind of a background on the system. Now let's actually digitize the workflow. So I'm going to invite in a department head into the system. Our system has 3 layers of login permission: editor, requester, and reviewer. Editor is the admins, requester is the departments. They only have access to the accounts you assign to them. And then we have a reviewer permission. If you want to add in someone for read-only access, they can do that as well. So right now I'm logged in as a department head. This is just their budget. I'm going to roll up the object so you can clearly see we've invited the IT department. They only have access to their accounts. In my example, the budget team already inputted the personnel related costs, so they've also locked it, so I can't change it. So it's part of my budget, I have to use it. Now they're asking for input on everything else. Let's go to operations and maintenance and itemize some of these costs out right at the account level. I can either input an actual figure, and then things start to happen. The costs above will update, just like a spreadsheet with formulas, except obviously you don't have to worry about broken formulas. I could do percent changes if I want to. E-icons appear so that anyone who has access to this, the budget team can see I'm making changes, or a sub-requester can see I'm making changes, or another person. All those are available to me. I can leave notes. Let's say for training education, it's $500, looking to attend NYSAC annual IT seminar. I can even put an attachment at the line item level. Maybe that's the event invite. It could be an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document, a PDF of any kind, an invoice, a rendering, a proposal, a study. We also have the ability to itemize the costs themselves. Training and education is $500. Let's say instead of leaving a note, the IT department wants to explain a little bit more what makes up that $500. So I'm going to add what we call a subline item detail, and we're going to itemize that below. So we're going to say that the annual NYSAC IT seminar we're looking to go to, maybe it's in Albany. We want to send 2 people, and we're going to budget for each of them at $250. We could also use this technology to maybe derive the actual account request. Let's say operating supplies, which is $0. I'm not sure exactly how much to ask for as a department, but I have a general idea of what we need to spend money on. So let's have the system figure it out for us. So I'm going to say in operating supplies, we're going to buy some paper for the IT department from our vendor. We're going to buy 6 units at $12. We're also going to buy maybe some pens for the department. We're going to buy 3 units at $2.65. That account was at $0. It's taking the unit amounts, aggregating across the value of those, and then totaling it to the account level. So that's a brief kind of idea of what the workflow would look like as a department starts to submit the request. If someone needs to get input from other folks, maybe police needs to get animal controls budget requests first and have them do their own review process before sending it to the budget team, you can do that as well. You can invite in what we call sub-requesters. But when this department is ready to submit their budget request to the finance or budget team, they click submit. A message says, are you sure you want to send in that request? Once they send in their request, they will not be able to make changes unless you allow them to. You open it back up or start a new round. So yes, I'm sure I want to send in that request. And then the budget and finance team is able to then review that request as it comes in. And you can either review the requests as they're coming individually, or you can wait till they're all in. It's up to you how you want to manage that workflow. And now I'm in the admin view of the system, right? This is maybe the budget team, the finance team, the county manager's office. And to review that department's budget request to build that maybe next stage of the budget, it's a matter of saying green thumbs up, yes, I'm going to tentatively accept that as part of the next stage of the budget. Red thumbs down, deny it. Or we can make an edit to it. We'll give them an increase, but not that much. In this system, you can collect your end of year projection estimates as well. That's this column over here as you're building the budget. You can see here the different stages of the budget being built, and certainly you can export this data from each stage. You can also build digital budget books around each stage of the budget and have those incorporated in your budget book. There's an audit trail with this system tracking who's doing what they did, what they changed, how they changed it, total transparency, control, and oversight over the budget process. There's also a report builder to get the data out of ClearGov and into your existing accounting system. So if you got to import this back into Munis or New World or Oracle or whatever the case is, you're able to do that. We also have a bunch of other canned reports in the system you can leverage as well. One other thing.
Rob, can I just stop you right there real quick? And you may have covered this, but I just want to, how do you obtain real-time data from your ERP system in the budget builder?
So if you were looking to get your actuals in ClearGov, that's a matter of just sending that data to the ClearGov team for upload. We've built an import-export model rather than building like direct APIs, which are costly, create security challenges, and are very difficult to maintain. So just like you can export the data out of ClearGov, we've built an import model where you just send it to our team. Most clients typically, in terms of data during the budget, you're capturing your actuals to date, usually a 6 or 8 month period. Maybe you're doing both a 6 and a 9 month period. So you would just send that data, that capture of that year to date figure from your accounting system, send it to ClearGov. It's now in the system. And then off of that current year to date actual, it's going to help you inform, build the budget, collect your end of year estimates, things like that. In our transparency software, once you've built the budget, you're then able to send us your actuals maybe on a more frequent basis, like monthly or quarterly, to then contrast throughout the year what's been budgeted versus what you have collected to date from more of an analytics perspective.
Great, thank you.
One other thing I want to point out about the system, is a relatively new feature we rolled out, and there's a lot more functionality we're looking to do around this. If you're looking to build a multi-year forecast while you're building the operating budget, right? You are building FY23's budget, and you also maybe want to build a 3-year forecast simultaneously. You now have the ability to do that in our system. You can add up to 10 forecasted columns around each unique account ID in our system. And you can see an example here. I have for my budget, I have here in my demo account, we're building FY22, that's the current budget. And I'm also can simultaneously build the forecast for FY23, 24, and 25. So if you're looking to build your forecast while you build the operating budget, and then maybe communicate that forecast in your digital budget book, or just use that for planning purposes internally, you're able to do that from a multi-year perspective. And speaking of multi-year planning, that's a great segue to briefly the other 2 modules around building the budget numbers. We have a personnel module for specifically those complex calculations around personnel projections. This number here in our dashboard around personnel represents what we're projected to spend for personnel related costs across the county. I see some other high level metrics. I see that number broken down by cost type, like wages versus benefits. I could see it by collective bargaining unit. I could see it by department. And in this system, you're able to recreate all of your wage schedule tables, your additional pays, your benefits. Here's an example of maybe what a wage schedule table might look like based on a union contract with the job titles, their standard hours. If you're using grades, you can certainly incorporate grades. Not every community does that. And of course, your different step progressions based on the jobs. You can also set up those 10-year progressions, whether they be 365 based, maybe a probationary periods, whatever the case is. Once you've set up that data, and in terms of getting that data into ClearGov, it's a matter of bulk import. You can download a template out of our system to upload like your wage schedule tables per collective bargaining unit, get that uploaded. Same thing with your employees. You're able to bulk upload your different employees in the system using a bulk upload tool, as well as your vacancies. And our system will calculate scenarios based on those wage schedule tables. It knows you have 1,000 employees, you have 12 different wage schedule tables, or 20 different wage schedule tables based on, X amount of contracts for X amount of unions. It knows all that. It knows the employee start date. It knows their anniversary date. It knows when they need to be moved from step to step based on their projected tenure progression, and knows how to prorate those costs in the given year. If someone's going to move from step to step, in month 7 or month 8, it knows to prorate it. And it can give you a projection and a baseline for not just the first year you're planning for, the current budget year, but the multi-year period as well. So this can be a very powerful tool for union negotiations as well. And you can then come into this system if you wanted to manipulate adjustments on top of that projection. So if I want to, as an example, give the police union, a 4% COLA that compounds forward on top of their projected salaries just from going from step to step. It's a matter of typing that in. I know the delta there, and I'll update my graph accordingly for that multi-year horizon as well. I know we're coming here on time, so I'm going to try to get through the rest of this fairly quickly, but if anyone has any questions, we'll save a couple minutes there at the end to answer those. Capital. A lot of communities struggle with capital. I actually just did a presentation at New York GFOA yesterday on capital budgeting best practices, and candidly, a lot of communities are still using spreadsheets or paper forms to collect their capital requests. So our system can really be a huge value add for you around collecting those capital requests. Here in our dashboard, you can leverage, you can see some high-level metrics around those different capital requests, cost by department, by year, in the aggregate for your capital plan. Maybe I want to look at it from a funding source dimension perspective. And the great thing with our system is it'll give you a bunch of digital request forms to totally digitize your request process. You can have a bunch of different forms in the system around your different project types. The data you need to collect around a building projects can be very different around maybe an equipment asset request. And basically, a department head would fill out this form that looks something like this: the title of the request, the department responsible for that request, the budget information, the images, the attachments. They would fill out all this data in a digital workflow, make it super easy for them to get you this level of data, allow them to get you even more data to make those informed decisions around those requests. And this is basically what you would see internally as you're collecting those requests. You would see a dashboard, a table here for you to sort the data. And when you're looking at these all-important capital requests, you're looking at them as not numbers in a spreadsheet or numbers in a form, but project pages brought to life with images, attachments, and financial data in interactive formats. And then finally, I want to save some time here to look at the budget book that Debbie and Gretchen talked about. I want you to imagine we just built the operating budget. We just built our personnel spending plan. We just built our capital plan. Now we need to digitize this in a digital interactive document. We want to save time building this book by automating it off the data we just built, as well as presenting in that 2022, 2023 friendly format in that digital interactive document. So using the digital budget book, it's taking all of that data to automate this document. Or maybe you want to be like Orange County and you just want to focus on the budget book. You can certainly use this as an a la carte solution. A lot of our county clients are actually doing that as well. And you can just see that this is a digital interactive document. A lot of the content you see here in terms of a framework is automated by the system, so you don't have to build this document from page 1, page 2, page 3. Use our GFOA ready template to give you a starting point and then customize it based on your preferences as a county. Here's Orange County's introduction section with their budget message letter as the starting point. I can click on a bunch of these different pages. Here's an example of maybe their history of the county page. Super easy to add images, attachments, interactive charts and graphs. In addition to that content, linking other documents. It's a much easier process to build this document, of course, in terms of viewing it. Here's an example of a narrative page our system automates for you. This is a demographics page for Orange County. Our system will automate this for every county out there in their budget book: total population, daytime population, age group distributions. This is the type of data we actually have internally from the Census Bureau. This is an API we maintain. We can build this page for you each year. Here's an example of another county. This is Ulster County, who also uses our software. This is their digital budget book. This is their executive operating budget. You can see here they have a bunch of different pages for their different funds. I love this page. This is their all fund summary page. They have some beautiful narrative here. Really great interactive charts and graphs that make it clear for the last few years what the budget versus actual activity has been. Very interactive, very dynamic. Here's the budget broken down by fund on the expense side. It's an interactive experience. I can view the data from a handful of different ways. I don't have to pick one chart and build it manually. I have the system automated and show it from a bunch of different dimensions. And here's that spreadsheet level detail accompanying it. Here's an example of Orange County Sheriff's Office page, just to show you kind of some of the content that the budget team there built. Here's some narrative, budget impacts, some additional narrative showing both revenue and expenditures in a really clean, easy to read format, including budget versus actual activity. You can see here they have 6 years of data. the data table accompanying the charts and graphs, revenues broken down by source. Again, a legislator, a member of the public can come in here and really slice and dice this data. Here's the expense history for that specific department. You can also include really whatever content you want, organizational charts, performance measures, goals. We actually have an org chart in the system that you can actually create these if you don't have them outside the system. Initiatives, goals, workload measures, things like that. In terms of maybe present, here's another example. This is Ulster County. Here's their department page for the county clerk. Again, you can totally customize these pages to meet your needs. Every county's communication method is going to be different, but leveraging the analytics of the system, leveraging the automation and the templates is going to make it so much easier for you to think about how to customize it rather than building it and just rushing to the deadline to get a document out there. Here's maybe an example of what capital presentation could look like. Here's Sullivan County. This is their one-year capital budget presentation in ClearGov, funding broken down by department, funding by source, projects itemized by department. Here's their multi-year capital plan, funding broken down by department, funding by source. Each project gets its own page in the document as well. So each fund, each department, each division, each capital request can get their own page with charts and graphs and data tables. The last thing I'll show here before we wrap up and answer any final questions, there was a couple questions around printing the book. In Orange County, they talked about how they still use that printed book this first year for some of that internal communication purposes. You can certainly put this digital document right on your website, like Orange County has done. You can also put the printed document on the website, but if it's not on the website, anybody can print it out. There's a blue print button here for anyone to access, whether it be a member of the public or someone internally. You can print the entire book, or you can print pieces of the book, and it'll produce a PDF for you that looks something like this. So Ulster County has both the online and the PDF on their website. Here's an example of their printed PDF version of their digital budget book. It will automate a table of contents for you. It will create a dynamic table of contents, and I can promise you each page is properly numbered according to the PDF and according to the table of contents. So one of those things that the system can automate for you, and you can see here, it's a really nice printed visualization of that interactive website-based budget we just looked at. So that is the product demonstration. I'm going to turn it back over to Mark. Are there any final questions that maybe got asked during the product demonstration?
No, but well, there is one that I'll come back to, but I want to just one more time. It is 2:59, so that's pretty good to come in under an hour. For the last question that we had come in was how do the real-time ERP data, and you said to send that over to you. Then the follow-up to that was, what is the turnaround time for when they upload that data from the ERP system to when it's in the system? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, getting us any data out of your accounting system, whether it's during the initial data onboarding or maybe during the budget process, or maybe using it for transparency purposes, it's a matter of sending that data file to our team. You're going to get an assigned representative at ClearGov, and they're really your quarterback for that data management. And our team will upload it, will clean up the data if it needs to be cleaned up. Not every accounting system creates great data. And our team will do that upload for you. In terms of a turnaround time, it's anywhere from 1 to 5 business days, depending on where you're at in the year. But we've seen clients during the budget process, we can turn that data around literally in a couple hours if you give us a heads up of kind of some of those deadlines you're working on.
Great, thank you very much. I want to thank, many thanks to Rob Battaglia, Debbie Slasinski, sorry, Debbie, Gretchen Reardon. This has been recorded and it will be available on our website in a couple hours or tomorrow morning. So please, if you want to share it with anybody in your county or a colleague from another county, please feel free to do so. This is really a transformational solution, it appears, and we thank you very much. And also a big thank you to all of our members who have joined us today. We wish you all the best during this holiday season. Thank you.